clients in town. I have clients in town. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 100 Black Men of Las Vegas Youth Economic Empowerment Club, class number 4. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. But right now, I'd like to introduce to you our Wells Fargo partners. We have Miss Jane Pavick today, and we have Miss Faninza Tonga today. They will be teaching class. And on the 100 side, we have Mr. Clifton Davis. He is Clifton Davis. I gave him a new name, Mr. Clifton Hines. And he is the economic chair. He is the economic development chair for the 100. Yeah, I gave you a different name. I apologize.
Don't worry.
We have Mr. Kurt Richards. He is our investment guru. We have Mr. Amos Koch. He is our accounting guru. And we have Mr. Russell Whitmore, who is our tech guru. Thank you to the money team from the 100 Black Men of joining us today. And of course, we have our wonderful students. We're so happy to see you today, and we're very excited to work with you. So, Cliff, it's on you.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. How you guys doing? So happy to be here. I want to thank you guys for being here. I've been traveling for the last couple of weeks, so I was not able to get on. It was in a 9-hour different time zone, halfway across the world. So I'm happy to be back, and I'm looking forward to having a good session today. Thank you.
Kurt, say a couple words.
Sure. Thank you and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day today to get started on your financial journey or continue your financial journey. We definitely look forward to these classes. I always love seeing the faces, so definitely make sure you get on camera so that we can see those faces and make sure that we can continue to pour into you during these sessions. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Rhonda. Thank you.
Okay. Russell, would you like to say a couple words?
Take you off mute there, Rhonda. Hey, good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. I got my boys on this morning. Just looking forward to the lesson today and learning something new for myself. So thanks for.
Okay, great. And we will hear from Mr. Amos a little later on because he's at the track meet. So Jane, take it away.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for making time today. We've got a lot of information to cover. We're going to be talking about savings and building wealth and the difference between the two. I can't think of a more perfect team on the 100 Black Men side and on the Wells Fargo side to talk about this topic. Before we get into that, though, just want to touch base about last week's topic, which was talking about how to a spending plan and how to be a savvy shopper, whether it's buying smaller things or larger things like in a car or renting an apartment. Faneza taught that class as well or helped teach it. And we just wanted to pause and see if the students had any questions about the information that you received last week. And Faneza, I don't know if you want to add anything about last week's topic.
Yeah, I guess as the students are thinking about it, I just want to say, first of all, just good morning and thank you all for being here. My name, because some of you were not on the call last week, my name is Faneza Tangwa, and I'm a branch manager with Wells Fargo Advisors. So I lead a team of 24 financial advisors here in the Las Vegas and in Henderson areas. My financial advisors, what they do is they help our clients to save, invest, and ultimately give their monies to their kids so that they can continue their family generational wealth. So for last week, does anyone have any questions or have anything to add from last week? And while they're doing that, Jane, you'll be presenting, right? You'll be.
Yes. So, and Rhonda, just a reminder that Vanessa and I don't have access to the chat. So if anybody puts anything in the chat, any questions, so students that are out there, I see Andre and Alvin, Miles. If you guys have any questions, you can either put it in the chat or you can just raise your hand and take yourself off mute. And you can do it anytime during the lesson. Anything in the chat, Miss Rhonda?
Let's see. I have in the chat. Okay, sounds good.
Perfect. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, yeah, so this week we are going to talk about money and building wealth, savings and building wealth. And last week when you talked about a spending plan, you probably talked about knowing what income you have coming in and then what expenses you have and how you're going to plan out how you use that money. And if you think about a spending plan for your money, you can think about it like when you think about what you're going to do this weekend, you probably have a plan of you want to do this in the morning and maybe you want to go play basketball in the afternoon. So to do that, you need to do your chores first. So when you talk about a spending plan for your money, it's kind of the same thing. You look at what you want to do short term and then long term. And Vanessa is the expert in all this. So I'm going to turn it over to her. I will run the lesson. And our understanding is that you all were, during the week, you went over the lesson number 4, the Save, Invest, and Build Wealth lesson on the hands-on banking site. But we're going to go over that. We may not go over everything in detail, but we are going to dig into the high level, the topics that are important and things to remember. So Vanessa, do you want me to dive into the?
Yes, go ahead and play the video.
Okay, let me share my screen. All right. So we'll go into the first lesson. My computer's a little sleepy today. There we go.
I used to think someday I want to have lots of money. But now I know there's a big difference between having money and building wealth. Money's something that goes in your pocket and comes right back out. But wealth is things like savings and investments, property, a business of your own. Those kinds of resources give you options and let you take advantage of opportunities in life. If you're earning money, what are you doing to reward yourself? We'll show you how to save and invest to build wealth.
So as far as investing and getting started, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you know what your goals are. So when you're looking at this, your target timeline, I want to open my savings account. I'm committed to a monthly savings goal. Set up automatic transfers to my savings accounts. As I earn more, increase the amount I save. I contribute to my company's retirement savings plan. So what I want to make sure is that we have an interactive discussion here today. And I see we have Alvin, Kirk, and a few of you there. But I want to ask you, are any of you right now saving your money and you're working, putting money aside for different goals? Okay, Alvin, I see you shaking your head. Can you tell us, is that kind of what you're doing right now or what goals you're saving for? Oh, and you're on mute right now. So you just want to unmute yourself? Okay, it's okay if you're, okay.
Sorry, my bad.
No worries.
Right at the moment, I was just saving for like a gaming computer. And those are expensive, so you have to like save a lot.
And then as far as your savings, were you putting a certain amount aside or just as you receive monies, you just try to, put it into like a savings account or a bank or an envelope? How did you try to save?
I just give my money to my mom and then she keeps it.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so basically making sure you have a timeline, knowing what you're wanting, putting money aside, having a nice way of putting it aside. Like you give it to your mom. So that means, she's not going to spend it and you can't touch it. So perfect. Okay, Jane, we'll go on to the next one. All right, Randall's making money, paying bills and buying stuff, but sometimes runs short between paychecks. She doesn't like feeling broke. She wants to get into the habit of saving so that she has money for fallback on.
Hold all 4 fingers on the mouse pad and slide.
Oh, go ahead and mute your line. Fallback if she loses her job or has an emergency. She also wants to save up for big purchases, like a vacation trip in the long run. She wants something to show for her hard work and to be able to retire someday. So given her situation, what do you all think is the best choice? Make saving her #1 priority, set a goal and calculate an amount to save every month, no matter what. Second option, put an extra money she receives, such as tax refunds, bonuses, raises, gifts into her savings. Or 3, automatically deposit a percentage of her income, for example, 5 to 10% into a savings account.
You could put what choice you think is best in the chat, or you can just take yourself off mute and say 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, that's a great idea. Go ahead and put in the chat and we'll see. Ms. Rhonda will go ahead and share the information and I'll put it in.
Okay, we have one answer, number 1.
Number 1?
Okay.
All right, let's try that. Oh, shoot, it says try again. That, I mean, that is a good goal. Should we take it again?
Then someone said, okay, so then we had number 3.
Number 3, let's try number 3. Ah, correct. Do you want me to read that, Vanessa?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Awesome advice. Making savings automatic and saving as much as you can at the best interest rate you can find are all great strategies for building wealth and a strong financial future. As Randy earns more over time, she should increase the amount she saves as much as she can. And to earn more interest on your savings, shop for a savings account with the highest annual percentage yield. You can find and you can learn more about this in creating your own spending plan, which was in the lesson previously. And Vanessa, I know we're going to talk about annual percentage yield later on in the lesson today. So I don't know if you wanted to talk anything about that now or just keep moving forward with the lesson, or.
Yeah, we'll keep going because I know we have quite a bit of information to go over. But I did want to say, that one there was tricky. Earlier when I was looking at the lesson plan myself, I did the same, I selected the same thing as well. But basically just making sure that if you do something steadily and you're doing it, if you make something automatic, it's easier to continue to do it than to just, like for example, you don't want to get paid and then use 90%, put in your savings account, then you only have 10%, you can't really live off of it, then you're pulling money out of the savings. So you want to make sure that you have a plan, it's realistic, and that you're putting a good amount of money to the side that you don't have to touch. So that's where making it automatic ended up being the better option. Yeah. Okay, Jane.
Yeah, and Vanessa, the nice thing about having a plan too is that you can adjust it, right? Yep. So it's not, right or wrong. You don't have to do X amount. And if you don't do this amount, you're failing at it. That's what's the nice thing about a plan. Like if you are training for, to make the basketball team or something like that, you have a plan and you adjust how you train for that according to how you do each week. So it's good to just start out and then make adjustments as needed. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about savings.
You probably like making money and spending money, but how do you feel about saving money? Maybe it sounds boring or even painful, but in reality, it's not.
I agree. Think of saving as giving a gift or paying a reward to you. The money you save gives you so many benefits, like cash in an emergency, and the ability to buy big things, like a car.
The thing to remember is that building up huge amounts won't happen overnight. But it will happen if you make it a habit, make it automatic, and stick with it over time.
All right. The ways that savings can benefit you is basically keeps your money safe, Your money grows with interest. You're prepared for unexpected expenses, and you can make large purchases when you're wanting to, and then also helps you achieve major life goals. Now, the great thing about putting your money in an interest-bearing account, so when you say interest-bearing is, interest is when you, let's say you have $100 and you put it into the account. Let's say you have 1,000, let's think big, right? You have $1,000 and you put it into a bank account. What the bank is going to do is it's going to pay you interest. It's going to pay you money for having your money in their account. So that's why it's really important when you're putting, monies into a bank account and an interest-bearing account that you want to do that versus putting it under your pillow or under your mattress, because you want to make sure that your money is making money even when you're not doing anything. Because that's what they say, right? The way you want to make money is not having to even do anything. Now, one thing to know is that when you do earn interest, it is taxable, which means that the government will tax you on this money. But the most important thing is that at least you're putting money aside and the money is growing with interest. And let me see. All right, and then it says, how often is interest compounded? Well, let me start with what is compound interest. Compounding interest means the financial institution pays you interest not only on the amount you originally deposited, but also on the interest that you deposited and earned. So what I'm saying is basically you put in $1,000, you earn $10, let's say. So later on, as you're getting more and more interest, it'll be based on the $1,010. So basically, the more your money grows, the more interest you're getting. So compounding is why people say you definitely want to put money in year after year, because that compounding is so important. And then, like as I mentioned earlier, you want to pick a high interest account. So you want to find out in the past, and it's going to happen again because interest rates are rising. You could kind of shop around to find out which companies or which banks have higher interest rates. So that means you want to put your money in an account that pays you the most, which makes sense. And I don't know if Ms. Rhonda or Mr. Hines wants to add anything in here. Okay, we'll keep going for now. So here we're looking at the power of interest. So here you can see basically the compounding interest. So the first year you have $1,800, so $5 a day and no interest. Year one, $1,825. Year five, $9,125. But when you're looking at $5 a day plus 5% interest, so that's in an account that's compounding, you'll see that money over 5, 10, 30 years is growing higher than an account with no interest. So that's the difference between putting your money in your house in the cupboard or back in a closet versus putting it in an account where it's bearing interest.
And Vanessa, it looks like if you look at this, the longer you keep it in, the money, the more years, the more money you'll earn, because you keep that compounding interest. It keeps adding to what you have in your account. So I was really impressed with, 30 years, that's a long time, but time goes quickly sometimes. So maybe if we look at 10 years and you start saving over $5,000 more. I mean, I think about all the things I could buy with $5,000 more. You could use this for your, college education. You could buy a car. You could buy a motorcycle. You could, probably put a down payment on a very, very small house, but it's still, that's a money for just having your money sit there and do the work for you, right?
Exactly. Yep. So that's why you definitely want to make sure that you're putting your money in interest-bearing vehicles.
Vanessa, could I just add also that it's saving money, investing, it's basically just like building muscle. If especially if any of you are in sports and things like that, it's just like building a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger you'll get and the easier things will become. So as you continue to save money, if you have the analogy of taking a snowball and rolling it downhill, it picks up more snow, it continues to grow, and it continues to roll faster. So the more you save, the easier it is to save, the easier it is for you to also see that the money is growing. So now that if you start now, you'll be able to really see the benefits later on in life versus starting later. Just the same analogy goes with life insurance or anything else like that, where if you start or try to get insurance later on in life, it's going to cost you more because the probability that you'll die, unfortunately, you're close to dying at an older age. So same thing with savings, build the muscle now, get those good money habits going, and you'll be able to really see the benefits as you age.
Yeah, and I'm just going to jump in for a second. Delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is a premise that should be installed early. If you wait and save, you'd have more benefits and savings and being more disciplined. So we call that first things first. So if you delay your gratification of buying something today, adding to savings, developing good habits of saving, you'd find that using that compounding rule that she just described give you more savings and more money at a later age. So you want to look at for the future. The future is bright when you're looking into a savings and using delayed gratification as a purpose in your life. It's a good benefit. Muscle has memory. That's one of the things that we have to look at when we are trying to develop good habits in our life.
That's exactly right. Are there any questions from any of the students or any comments about your experience with savings?
No questions from the chat. Well, somebody said they didn't have a question, but they put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
All right, so we have money saving tips. Do you want it or need it? It's really important to understand, is it a need or is it a want? Do you need those new pair of shoes or do you just simply want it and you can wait a little bit longer? Number two, making savings an automatic habit. As we said, if you're doing it each time, it'll be easier. If you're taking it from your check, you won't miss it because you're always doing it as a certain process. Pay yourself first, that's most important. You wanna make sure that you put something away for the rainy day instead of using all your money to just pay off bills and have nothing if there's an emergency. Set aside extra money into savings, which goes along with that. Pay your bills on time. That will follow you. Your credit will follow you. So make sure that you're paying your bills on time. Avoid check cashing stores. You wanna open a real bank account because a lot of times the cash checking stores, they'll charge you a large fee for simply cashing your check when it's free when you do it at your own bank account. And then save for retirement, because sooner or later, one day you're gonna wanna retire. There's a lot of people retiring early. I wish I was a part of that world that was retired by the time they were 40, but I didn't get the memo till later. But most people think of retiring around 60 years old, so you wanna save for that time frame. All right, Jane, we could go on to the next video. So next will be investing basics.
Okay, great. And I was just going to add one thing about some of these tips, and Vanessa, you may have experienced this. So I don't know, you may be just starting out at your jobs, or you will be soon, or maybe you get a summer job. When they talk about make savings automatic and pay yourself first, what you should maybe ask your employer is if you can get direct deposit of your paycheck into your checking or savings account. If you have a checking account, that means the money automatically, electronically goes into your account. So on payday, instead of getting a paper check or getting cash, if they can deposit it directly into the account, then you know, that's easy and it's there first thing when you get up in the morning. And then you could decide, hey, I'm going to have an automatic transfer from my checking account to my savings account of, you know, $5, $10, $20 every week. And if you do that, you're making it automatic, you're paying yourself first, and you know, you don't even really have to think about it. So when you if you're working right now, or when you get your job for the summer, or however you do it, you might want to ask your employer if they have the ability to do a direct deposit into your bank account. When I started out, that was the easiest thing for me. Okay. Any other comment or?
No, Jane, that is perfect. You're right. Getting the money to go directly to your bank account is the best way, and then putting it, a certain percentage into checking and savings, that will definitely make it a lot easier.
Okay.
Putting money in a savings account is one way to make it grow. Investing is another.
The main idea behind investing is to put money you've saved into things you think will go up in value over time. Things like stocks or bonds or real estate. The trick is to buy when the price is low, then try to sell when the price is high. That's how you make a profit.
One big difference between saving and investing is that investing always involves risk. If the value of your investment goes up, you could earn more money than you would in a savings account. But if the value goes down, you could lose some or even all of your money. That's why you should never invest money that you can't afford to lose.
And that's why before you invest, we want to make sure you know the basics of what investing's all about and how it works.
All right, so what is the difference between saving and investing? So saving is short-term, ready to go. Saving is typically for smaller short-term goals in the near future, usually 3 years or less, like a vacation or having money for emergency. Ready access to cash. With savings, you also are able to easily get that money. It's usually minimal risk, the meaning when you put your money in a savings account, you expect to be able to get it back out, and you earn interest on it. Now, the difference is with investing, you're looking at a longer time horizon. So for example, if you're wanting to, investing, for example, towards your retirement, towards your a home, you're doing it for a longer period of time, at least 4 years or more, it's harder to access the cash. So for example, if you're buying stocks, if you're buying bonds, and you're putting your money into different vehicles, you can't always go back and just get the money the next day if you needed it. And then also it involves risk. So right now, I'm not sure if you've seen what's going on with the stock market, the news, but the stock market is in the red right now. So if you put in $1,000 last month and you wanted to get $1,000 this month, it probably wouldn't be possible unless you invested in securities that were that had an increase in value. So a lot of securities have gone down in value, meaning if you went back to your financial advisor and said, I need my 1,000 right now, they may say, oh, I'm sorry, right now the stock is only worth 800, and you would have to take that loss. But with investing, you have a potential for profit. So when we spoke earlier about putting 1,000 in a bank and then you earn interest and you have $1,010, with the stock market or investing, what you're hoping for is that your money will grow substantially. You put in 1,000 and maybe it'll be 1,200 or $1,200. So you're hoping to be able to get more money than just with savings. So that's why it's called investing, because you're taking on more risk.
Are there any questions, Ms. Rhonda, in the chat, or does anyone have a question? You want to just take yourself off mute about the difference between savings and investing?
No questions in the chat, but I challenge you to ask a question. Turn on your microphone and ask a question.
Yeah, and the question that I do have, I don't think I've asked yet, is does anyone, do any of the students own any stock or own any investments? Are they familiar with it? Okay.
I'm pretty familiar with stock.
Okay. How did you learn about stocks, or how did you get educated on it?
Right now I'm a senior in high school, so I'm taking a class called Reason and Sense Making Math. And so that's like a topic that we just finished, and we just finished this thing called like the stock market game.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Any stocks that you followed or were interested in, or what kind of stocks?
Say again?
Is there a stock that you follow now, or that you were following during the game?
During the game, I was following Ford at the time, and I was following Ford, and I was following Dutch Bros also, because during that time it was around, let's say it was around September, so a lot of their drinks were coming out and becoming more popular, so more people were buying it.
Were
Okay,
you
got
on
it.
a team? Were you on a team of investors, or was it just you competing against other students, or did you have other people?
Oh,
on the team?
it was me and 3 other people, and now we're doing the national one for the nation.
Oh, that's awesome. So when you had your team meetings, did you have a lot of discussion about why we're going to invest like in Dutch Brothers, or what
Yeah.
were our other choices? And how did that, was it everybody on the same page, or did you have to talk through a lot about the benefits and the risks of each one?
Yeah, so sometimes we'd want to invest in there's this one company that we wanted to invest in. It was called H&M, and it was during like the springtime, so they were getting a lot of their shares up. But at times I had to tell them that if we invest in this, they're up now, but they can go down easily. So yeah, it was kind of like up and down.
Yeah. And it seems like coffee is a pretty solid beverage that a lot of people like.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Is the stock market competition game available at all of the high schools in Clark County?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing. That's
You're welcome.
interesting.
That's really great.
Cool. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, so we'll go through some types of investments. Hopefully you have a chance to read through these already. I'll do a high level. Some are going to be more important than others. So low risk investments. So what we're talking about here is when you're putting your money in different investments, there are some opportunities. For example, CDs are an investment that you can put your money in, and they're pretty relatively safer than putting your money with a stock. So like Andre mentioned, putting it in the stock market, you probably saw the Ford going up and down. But you want to do low risk investments, especially if you're scared. Certificates of deposits. This is a type of low risk investment that can be open with initial deposit as little as $1,000. So with CDs, you agree that you won't touch the money that you deposit for a specific amount of time, from a few days to a few years. Generally, the longer you keep the money there, the greater the return. So with CD, you put $1,000 in, they tell you it's a 3-year, you go back, you get the 1,000 X dollar amounts of money, but you typically get your money back. Money market deposit accounts, that's also another low risk investment, kind of like a cash account where you're putting your money in and you make a little bit of interest, but you have flexibility of accessing your funds. Now with stocks, that's when we start getting a little bit riskier, because 1 minute Google could be up and the next minute could be down. Tesla right now is up, but stocks, the value can change from day to day. So that's taking on more risk. And with the stock market, just to make sure I do cover stocks. Stocks is going to be, they could be small, medium, large companies in the US. So when you're thinking about like Disney, Nike, Ford, these are going to be company, and what it means when you own a stock is that you own a part of that company. So sometimes, like a long time ago, my daughter had 5 shares of Disney, and I would joke, I was like, "Wow, we own a piece of brick of the whole big amusement park is probably my personal share," but it's like owning a piece of an actual business. What are shares and dividends? Stocks are usually bought and sold in units called shares. A share is a value. A share price rises and falls based on how people are willing to pay for that security. People will pay more for a stock if they think the company will be successful. If it is not, the stock will, if it will increase in value. Sometimes the company will also pay its investors a dividend. That's when a company pays its shareholders a part of its profits. So dividends is what a company will pay. So for example, with Disney, as they're making money, because you own a part of the business, they're going to send you dividends. So it's kind of like your royalty check. Mutual funds. A mutual fund is a professional managed collection of money from a group of investors. Instead of deciding for yourself on what stock or bonds to buy, a mutual fund manager makes these decisions for everyone in the group, deciding what to buy or sell, and when some mutual funds will be higher risk than others, and no mutual fund is a sure thing. So with this is, let's say when you're buying a stock, you're buying, you're buying Pepsi, you're buying Coke, you're buying Disney. There's a lot of risk to that. A mutual fund is you pay a manager and that person buys you a number of securities. So sometimes you don't have enough money to buy a number of different stocks. So for mutual fund, you could give them 1,000 and they'll buy a portion of many different securities because it's a group of people buying securities at the same time. So therefore it'll be a less risk for you. Risk reward with mutual funds. Because a mutual fund invests in a variety of stocks, bonds, and other products, there's usually greater potential for reward than many low-risk investments and less risk than buying the individual stocks and some bonds. So bonds versus stocks. The difference between a stock and a bond is it means that you own a piece of that organization. A bond is like you borrowing someone some money, meaning you're giving them $1,000 and say, here, I'll let you borrow this money, but after a certain amount of time, I want this money back. So bonds, corporations, governments, and municipalities issue bonds to raise funds. In return, they typically repay the bond owners with interest. Again, we're hearing interest. In this way, a bond is like a loan. When you purchase a bond, you're lending money to a corporation or to the government for a certain period of time called a term. A bond certificate is a promise from the corporation or government that they will repay you on a specific date, usually within a fixed rate or interest. So once again, with the bond, it's pretty safe. They'll be giving you back your money. So why do people invest in bonds?
Can I ask a question, Vanessa?
Sure, yes.
So where your job that you have at Wells Fargo and the team that you manage, your team, the people that work for you, they are the ones that help people buy stocks and mutual funds and bonds, right?
Yes.
And so you can on your own, like I could go and buy a stock in a certain company today by myself, but your team usually gets different information and does research on the companies and on the mutual funds and on the bonds so that they can help their customers understand how much risk they want to take. Is that kind of
yes?
Yes.
So it's almost like, for example, I don't know why I just thought about this. For example, getting your hair cut or getting your hair done, right? So you can pay someone that's a professional that knows what they're doing, that is licensed, is in the industry, has the skill set, years of experience, or you can learn how to do it yourself, So some people, they do it themselves, but a lot of times you go to a professional. So my team is a group of advisors that are licensed. They've learned about the market. Their job is to look at the market to see what's going to go up, what's going down. They're reading the literature on it. So when clients come to us, they do pay us a fee so that the advisor can use their experience to help the client in choosing which securities to purchase. And the thing is, you may say, well, isn't it just one security, or is it just like the same thing for everyone? Well, everyone has different time horizons. Like, for example, some of you are going to go to college soon. So if your parents said, oh, we want to buy a 529 and start investing for Andre's college. Well, it's a little bit late because Andre's starting college probably in September. So at that point, it's too late to be thinking 10 years of savings. So my advisor would say, well, okay, you got 6 months or you got a year. What's the best place to put your money, even if it's just keeping it in cash, just to make sure we could pay for his college. But basically, based on the information that they learn about each client and their time horizons and what their goals are, they make decisions on stocks, bonds, CDs, and then also just the amount of risk that the client may want to take.
Okay, yeah, perfect. And so looking at what's on the screen right now, they kind of started with the lower risk investments that you can make, and kind of, depending on your goal and your timeline, they kind of went through each one. So starting here, certificates of deposit is less risk than money market, which is less risk than stocks, and then mutual funds. But bonds are different? Is it because bonds are like you said, they're like a loan. Do people typically have to invest a big amount of money in bonds, or do they have options for like just the average investor?
Yeah, CDs are, you can get the CDs starting at about $1,000, but usually with bonds, you're going in like $10,000. So you'll find that the banks will have more of the CDs, where as a financial institutions, financial advisors will have more of the bonds because those are bigger amounts. Even people buying $100,000 bonds, a lot of times they're issued by corporations and the government, especially when they're trying to build like highways and ballparks. Sometimes different stadiums. Sometimes you'll see that different bonds will be issued.
Okay. Are there any questions in the chat, Miss Rhonda?
No questions in the chat.
Okay.
All right. Next, we'll go into inflation.
Go
ahead.
down to inflation. Okay.
I'm sorry. One thing that I did miss was just real estate. And you know, some of you may have heard of people talk about flipping homes, but real estate is also another investment that a lot of people are putting monies into because, I came from the state of California. You know, you buy a house for $300,000, and in 5 years is worth $500,000. So that's another great place to that a lot of people look to invest. But also, just like you put money into real estate, there's times when you put money in it and maybe there's a downturn and then you lose money as well. Because I remember years ago, I bought my house at the high of the market back in 2006, and then there was a housing market crash. So then my house, even though I paid X dollar amount, because there was a crash in the housing market, my house was worth less than what I paid for. So even with real estate, you also have risk. Inflation. You probably noticed that the prices for a lot of things have gone up over the years when the general price levels of goods and services go up. That means the purchasing power of your dollar goes down. It's called inflation, and it can really eat away at the future purchasing power. I think with this one, this will be something that I'm sure some of you have experienced. So hopefully one of you can share something that you've noticed recently that's gone up in prices. So for example, I'll just read you this example, but next I'm going to come back to you students and see if anyone wants to share of something that, and I know especially in the last 2 years with the pandemic, we all used to pay X dollar amount for something, and now it's 2 years later and we're noticing it costs a lot more. But here's an example. If you stash $1,000 in a box and leave it there for 25 years, assuming that the inflation rate is 4%, when you take your money out, your original 1,000 would only be able to purchase you $368 worth of goods. Is there anything in the last year that you've noticed that the price has gone up? So you're saying $10 is you're no longer able to purchase the same thing, or you're 20 bucks. Anyone have any examples?
So I see Andre in the chat. Oh, go ahead, Andre. I think you're going to say what you're going to say, so I don't need to say it for you. Go ahead.
I said gas.
What are some of the things that you noticed?
Say again.
What are some items that you have noticed have gone up in prices?
Oh, gas.
Yes, that's a big one for all of us, right? The gas prices are ridiculous. So I used to be able to fill up my little tank. I think it was like 50 bucks, and now it's like $60. And I'm like, what? So inflation is just showing that your purchasing power can go down over time. And that's one reason you want to save, you want to invest, because you want to make sure that the dollar that you have is growing in value, because the cost of things are also going to be going up. So if you just think that you put that $1,000, you don't invest, you don't do anything with it, and you're going to be a millionaire. No, and in 10 years, things will be so much more that you could have been making that money work for you. That's the best way to say it. Okay. Anyone else want to add anything?
I was going to say gas is a really good example, and it also impacts you if you don't even drive a car, because to get food, that it takes gas to get the cows to market, to, you know, like if you think about the hamburger and the different distance it has to travel, that may make prices of things like food go up. And so, yeah, even if you don't drive, that's a really good example though.
Yep, great example.
Do you want me to go to, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and to add, I mean, I think we're all right now in some unprecedented times where we've got inflation that we're dealing with, supply chain demand issues. So it's harder to get food into the grocery store. Plus the fact that you were spending more to get it to you with fuel for gas. So that's why, number one, it's also continues to just be very important to save and invest. And really also, I think we've touched on this earlier, but that emergency fund. Typically you want to have 3 to 6 months. That's the general rule of money put aside so that you can weather these situations. If it's losing a job or higher gas prices and things like that, you don't want to be caught in a situation where you now have to react. You want to be proactive, and saving and investing allows you to be proactive when things happen. So we're, like I said, we're in some unprecedented times. There's a lot going on, but if you've properly planned, if you've done the basics, you've built your muscle of saving and investing up, you're able to weather these storms and make better decisions for yourself. You don't want to be in a situation where you end up having to rob Peter to pay Paul, because Peter still wants his money back. And you're going to end up, you know, digging yourself a deeper hole, and just really, you know, putting yourself at a disadvantage. At these particular times is when people, or I would say these are typical times when the rich get richer, because they've done the things that they need to do to take advantage of the people that unfortunately didn't properly plan, for lack of better words. So if I have proper money saved, I'm able to go ahead and still move forward with buying another property, or being able to buy it, especially buy that property at a cheaper price, because someone else has to now get rid of it and take a loss on it. So, you know, keep that in the back of your mind as we continue to move on. But with that, I'll stop talking. Thank you.
No, that's
Okay.
perfect. That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, compounding grows money, and just to kind of repeat this part again, compounding occurs when your earnings on an investments are added to the amount you originally invested. As your total investments grow larger, your earnings have the potential to grow larger too. How fast an investment grows over time depends on the rate of each return you earn each year. So you put money in, it grows interest, and then it continues to grow even on top of that amount of money. Rule 72. I wanted to say, I wish Mr. Rayford was here. I think it was Mr. Rayford. I think he loves talking about all the compounding and the money rules. So Rule 72, here's a helpful way to estimate the amount of time or interest rate you will need to double your money on savings or an investment. It's called the Rule of 72. Let's say you have an investment that earning 8% a year. Start with the number 72 and divide it by the interest rate, 8. 72 divided by 8 equals 9. That means it would take about 9 years for your original investment to double. Try another example for yourself. We hope that the Rule 72 inspires you to get the highest return you can on your savings and investments. Before we move on, anything else anyone wants to add before we go to get started with investing? Okay, and Jane, can you read this for me?
Yes, I'm happy to read this for you. So Jack considers an investment. Jack's off to a good start financially. He minimized his expenses. He's built up his savings and recently started to invest. Some friends of his have a fantastic new business idea and have asked him to invest, but don't have a business plan yet. He'd have to quickly sell the investments he's made so far to give them the money they need. His investments are low risk, but haven't earned much. Is this his chance for a huge profit? So, you know, just think about your friends. If they came to you and said, hey, we've got this great idea, but we need some money to invest. And maybe because they know that you're a good planner and that with your money, you've got your spending plan. And you're also their friend that, hey, why wouldn't you want to help us out with our business? But you gotta, when it comes to your money, you gotta think about what's important to you, what your goal is, and what you want to do as you move forward. So let's see what Jack's choices are. All right, so I need your guys' help on this. Jack's trying to decide whether to invest in his friend's new startup company. Given his situation, which choice do you think is best? So I'm going to read these through, and if you guys want to put it in the chat or take yourself off mute, that would be great. So the first thing, yes, the whole idea of investing is to make a profit. He shouldn't pass up this unique opportunity. No, it's too risky. He should get a cash advance on his credit card and give them 50% of the amount. And remember, when you have credit cards, you always have interest rates that you're going to have to pay back that money. So think about that. The last choice, choice number 3. No, it's too risky with no business plan. He needs to wait and see. This new business may fail. So out of 1, 2, and 3, what do you think is the best choice? You can put it in the chat or take yourself off mute.
Okay, the chat has picked number 3.
Number 3. Okay, I'm going to choose that. Let's submit it. Fantastic. Correct. Good job, you guys. Jack says, this seemed like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Then I remembered that if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. My friends are really psyched, but they don't even have a business plan yet. I might be willing to take a little more risk for more potential reward, but I'm going to stick to my plan to divide my money between different types of investments, companies, and industries. Good advice. It may have been hard for him to take a pass, but Jack made the smart choice. He's controlling the amount of risk he wants to take, dividing his money between different types of investments, called diversifying his portfolio. It's a good way for him to cut his risk. And I'm sure Vanessa has some tips about diversifying, but I hope this gives you guys a good example about having a plan in mind, knowing what's important for you guys in your future. And we do have lessons on the hands-on banking side when it comes to starting a small business. But again, you got to do what's right for you. And having a business plan is kind of the baseline key component you need when you start a new business. So we're not going to get into that. But Vanessa, do you want to talk about diversifying and what that means when it comes to investing?
Yeah, so with diversifying your assets, so it's the easiest way to think about it is, I don't know, I'm coming up with all these different ideas. You think about, like, for example, when you're eating a plate of food, right? You don't want to just eat all meat, because after a while, they talk about clogged arteries, and meat is not always good for you, but then you also don't want to just eat all vegetables and not get enough protein and protein. So you want to make sure that you have a diversified plate, you know what I mean? You have your proteins, you have your vegetables, you have everything there, your grains. So when you're thinking about your investments, you want to make sure you have some low risk. Some things could be a little bit high risk, but you want to make sure that you don't have all your money in one thing. So for example, there's times that people say, well, I have my money in the stock market, but I'm diversified. And then you'll say, okay, what do you have? And they'll say, I have Google, I have AT&T, I have, and they'll tell you all the telecoms, all of the different, Pinterest, all of these different tech companies. Well, that's not being diversified, even though it's some General Mills, which is like some food, and Pepsi. And then you want to have some telecom, and you may want to have some real estate investments. When you're thinking about being diversified, there's so many different ways that you'll be diversified, whether it's having stocks, bonds, CDs, or if you do have CDs and for example, if you have CDs and bonds and you're buying them based on maturity, not having all bonds are 30-year bonds. So that means you put all your money in, you have to wait 30 years for all of your money. You want to make sure you're laddering your bonds. You have the 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. So that's where having a good financial advisor, or when you're doing your own investments, you're looking at what you have and you're making sure, number one, are they all in the same industry? Do I have all the same types of investments? Just making sure that you're taking opportunities from everywhere, because the reason you also want to be diversified is that at different points, certain things go up and certain things go down. So for example, when the US is, or any country is at war, there's going to be the companies that are making machinery that may make more money. So then if you're invested in those companies or that have the intel, then you'll make money there. So you just want to be diversified and be aware of how you're where you're putting your money, shall I say.
Perfect. Are there any questions, or Mr. Hines or Mr. Richards, Mr. Whitmore, anything you would add to that? Or Ms. Rhodes?
Yes. I want to add a few things to that. Diversification is good because it allows you to have more choices. Also, having diversification, if something happens on one end of the spectrum, you don't have all your eggs in one basket. So basically, if you diversify your assets, you'd find that you're building a solid foundation. So if something happens on one end, you can still survive. You have money in your savings, you have money in your checking, and at the same time, you have diversified assets that you're looking into. So you're practicing the 5 Ps. I call it proper planning prevents poor performance. If you have one thing on one side of the spectrum and something happens, and it will, then you have all your money tied up into one thing. So if you start practicing good habits, if you start diversifying, if you start this premise early, then you would find that your life becomes easier. Excuse me, because you're balancing your financial life with your personal life. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So practicing these good habits, taking advantage of these classes and this information, building a solid foundation for the future, you'd find that your life become a lot easier than where you are. So we have to take full advantage of this information and start practicing it at an early age. So you're on the right path to success, because success does not have any back doors. You can have it one day and not have it one day, because it changes, it shifts. The market crashed in 2008, and lots of Americans have still not recovered from that crash, because all the eggs are in one basket. We learned a lot from that crash, so we started diversifying our assets and diversifying our thinking. We have different information that can help you to make better decisions. So if you must pay attention to these classes. You must pay attention. This is your life. This is going to be your future. So this information in classes is super important for how you set your life up and your foundation. And I'm done speaking.
Thank you for sharing.
And if I could, I would like to add that just a couple of things also, when you're saying, ready to invest, just like Faniza said earlier, a big part of that is your risk profile, and that's what she was explaining earlier. Understanding and basically your risk profile is, when I go to sleep at night, if the stock market goes down 10%, 15%, whatever it may be, would I be able to sleep at night? What makes you comfortable when it comes to investing? So that's a very important part of investing, is understanding how much risk you're willing to take. The risk reward is what you always want to be able to weigh. The other part of it is time horizon. So initially earlier when Faniza was talking about going to college, and you're going to college in 5 months, then that's your time horizon. Your time horizon is when you actually need to use the money. Okay. So for myself, I'm mainly investing right now for my own retirement. That's what I really care about. I want to stop working. I've been working since I was 16 years old. So a lot of people have been working for a very long time. I mean, I've been working ever since I moved to this country from Jamaica. So it's very important for me to stop working. And my time horizon, right, is 10, 20 years from now, whatever it may be. But I'm very focused on that time horizon, because I know that's when I need to use the money. So your risk tolerance or your, excuse me, your risk profile and your time horizon. Those are two very important things that you need to make sure you understand. You want to read up on those, talk with a financial advisor, whatever it may be. But definitely those are two basic things that you really want to make sure you understand. And then, right, when it comes down to diversification, just like Finances said, you want to stay away, right? Especially now with the younger generation, which is includes yourself. Everyone's really tech savvy. Everyone really understands Google's and Microsoft's and Apple and things like that. But that's one sector. You don't want to end up with a sector concentration because, right, if there's a regulatory situation that happens, if there's a war, whatever it may be, if it affects that sector, you're going to be looking at a situation where you're going to be in the red, meaning you're taking a loss. So you want to be properly diversified. You want to understand your risk profile, and you want to definitely understand your time horizon, meaning when you want to use the money. So those are the comments I just wanted to make quickly, and I'll push it back over to you, Vanessa. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hines and Mr. Richards, thank you. You guys brought it home. That's great. All right. So let me see, on the next few screens, you'll learn a basic guidelines for smart investing and how to get started. As a first step, determine whether you're ready to invest. Select the correct 2 answers below. So you can put it in the chat. We could do it as 1, 2, 3, just number them. Debt's low enough that you can comfortably pay them down. Own a home with a 30-year mortgage loan. You've repaid all of your loans on time and in full. Enough savings to cover 2 to 6 months of expenses. Now more than $1,000.
I think that's a typo.
Okay, and I think I may have lost connection. Do you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to touch anything. Keep going. Jane, could you read the bottom of that part?
The bottom part, enough savings to cover 9 to 12 months of expenses. So to determine whether you're ready to invest, 2 answers. If you think, I guess I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the chat. Which 2 conditions do you think that you should be in before you start investing? I don't know if Miss Rhonda can read if there's anything in the chat.
There's nothing in the chat yet. So
okay.
The question.
So I know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I when I was doing this lesson this week and I came to this question, it kind of stumped me, and I chose a couple different. It took me about 3 tries to get through this question. I don't know if others had that same issue. Do you want me to go ahead and just choose one or choose 2 and see what we get?
Okay, let's try one.
Okay. And is Finezza, there you are. Finezza, you're still on. Okay, good. Okay, so let's try debts low enough that you can comfortably pay them, or, boy, let's try that. And how about enough savings to cover 2 to 6 months of expenses? I'm going to try those. Oh, good. Correct.
Wow.
So remembered from what I practiced this week. So I'll read this. Before you start to invest, be sure you're prepared to cover your expenses in case of an emergency, a sudden illness, or if you lose your job. To get starting with investing, it can be helpful to work with professionals. Ask your financial institution. Many offer investment products and guidance, which is exactly what Finezza does for Wells Fargo. So I know I'm looking at the time, Finezza, and I'm just wondering if there's anything that you want to, do you want to just keep going, or?
Yeah, we'll keep going. And I was going to say, just for time's sake, I could make some high level remarks as we go through, but I want to make sure we get through, and then we'll make sure have time at the end. Okay, team?
Okay.
Okay, let's see. All right, so guidelines for smart investing: buy low, sell high. What that means is that right now when the market is crashing, this would be a great time to start buying some of these securities, some of these stocks, some of these that are selling for low. So then later when the prices are high, you can actually make money. Because a lot of times when Google is up, everybody wants to go buy it, right? Or whatever company is up, that's when people want to buy it. No, now when everything is crashing would be the time to start considering what companies are actually really good companies that in the future, when things turn around, you can actually make a lot of your money. Diversify, I think we talked a lot about that. Make sure whether it's by sector or even the type of securities that you're diversifying in, that you're aware. Because some people, a long time ago, for example, put all their money in real estate, flipping houses. And then when the housing crash happened, they didn't do too well and they're still paying for it. Buy and hold. When you buy really good securities, it's good to buy it, hold it until you're needing it. Because some people are just trying to buy and sell. You don't always make money doing that. Decide when to sell. That's going to be important. I'm going to read this one. One of the keys to successful investing is deciding when to sell investments that are doing poorly, as well as those that have increased in value. To cut your potential losses and maximize your gains, consider setting up strict guidelines for yourself regarding the specific price, either high or low, at which you will sell. Review your portfolio on a regular basis to see which investments have significantly increased in value or which ones have dropped. So it's interesting, right? You may sell if it's gone up, or you may sell when it goes down. Because sometimes when something's gone up too much and you know it's unrealistic, it may be a
Uh-oh. Okay, now Vanessa, you're frozen. Vanessa, can you hear us?
No,
Is she
I think
frozen?
yeah, she's frozen. I think her internet connection is not doing so well.
Okay, so I'll keep going until she gets back in. So I guess one of the things that, this would be where you would want to deciding to sell, like she was starting to talk about something's really, really high, and maybe you bought it at a lot lower price, depending on what your goals are and what risk you want to take, that may be the time to sell. And so if you're working with a financial advisor, that would be a discussion you'd have with a financial advisor. If you're doing it yourself, you'd probably want to maybe research that stock. Each company that has stock, they do have information that they publicly publish. You just have to go to their website and they will have historical data on their stocks. So that may be one way that you can decide when you're going to sell. And Mr. Hines, Richards, Miss Rhonda, Mr. Whitmore, if you have other things to add as we're going through this until Vanessa can come back, I welcome any feedback you have.
Yeah, of course, buying low and selling high is one of a strategy, but right now we're market adjusting. We're not selling as much as we used to, because in the real estate game we were flipping, and we found that flipping has not been the right course of action. So we're buying and holding. That seems to be a more effective way to have generational wealth, because if you're buying and holding, now you're talking about discretionary income. Discretionary income and passive income is the future. If you're buying and flipping, or you're up and down, you'd find that when the cycle hits, you're going to be out of tune. But if you keep a consistent flow, for an example, let's talk about discretionary income. You have your own income of $10,000 a month. On the side, you've got a discretionary income portfolio of another $10,000. If you sell those assets, you just took $10,000 away from your discretionary income. Now you're just operating on your personal income at 10 grand. And by the way, these are just an example. But if you kept the discretionary income and you kept your passive income, you'd find that if something happens with your normal income, your discretionary income stays in place. So you want to look at another business model of going through the cycles of creating generational wealth. And the only way to do that is to try to hold. We're in a new state of reality where we're holding instead of selling and just letting the up and down cycles repeat themselves. No matter what the marketplace is doing, it won't affect what you're doing, right?
Yes.
Because you
So,
have a strategic part in the marketplace.
so your discretionary income in your example is the income that you're receiving off of your investments. Like when we talked about
that is
dividends
Yeah, of course.
earlier,
Yeah.
that's the kind of discretionary income you're talking about. So
Yes,
yeah,
of course. Yes.
so that would be something to think about if you were going to sell that you would have those dividends coming into you.
And outside of the stock market, one of the real investments is real estate. Real estate is not going anywhere. It's going to cycle, but having real estate is really important because everyone always need a place to live. So make sure that you're looking at all assets of investments, but make sure that you know that real estate is a solid foothold in the marketplace, even during the up and down periods.
Yeah.
It's still going to hold because you can't live in a box. You have to have a place to live. So you must add real estate to your portfolio. Okay, but right now we're headed down the hill. So if there was money that was invested in real estate and you held on to it, you'd find that when the market changes, you can still be relevant because rents are high.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when the crash comes, and it will come, rents are so high that you'll still be able to sustain for the next cycle, but you'll be able to add to your portfolio because the property values are going to drop because interest rates is going to increase as this whole entire premise starts to crash. Like Vanessa was saying, it's going to crash.
Right.
So if you're looking at the cycles and you're diversified, you can take from one side of the equation, from the stocks, or from the other side of the equation and add to another side of the equation. Keep adding to your portfolio, just going really slow and not doing anything fast or abrupt. The fast, quick money is going to get you in a lot of trouble. So the risk taking is okay, but not too much risk taking, maybe 20%, right? But let's concentrate on generational wealth. Concentrate on having things forever. Like if you look at the Kennedys or any of the Trumps, the Johnsons, they concentrated on generational wealth. Now they have money for the next 500 generations because they went on the other route. They went the slow route, and they operated on generational wealth. So if you stretch the field and not do anything that would hurt you, you'd find that you'd still be in the game no matter what the marketplace is doing. And that's the new wealth. The new wealth is diversification and holding.
Yep.
Okay, so pay attention to all of the avenues. There's a lot of Bitcoins and NFTs and all of that stuff is wonderful, but real estate is another good, solid investment.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about growing.
I mean, and that's interesting. You brought up Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency. I mean, that's a really good example. All the different industries that are out there that you can invest in, but you know, some are more solid and they've been around for a while, like real estate. And then if you talk about Bitcoin, that's new, and there's not a really good track record on Bitcoin, and we could have a whole hour talk about that kind of investment. So I think the key is to know your goals, your own goals, know what you can invest, what, you know, after you've paid your expenses, and understand the risk that you want to take. And I think Mr. Richards is probably wanted to add something to our conversation.
Definitely. So when we're talking about, you know, a couple different topics we kind of covered there, but when we're talking about knowing when to sell, do keep in mind that, lack of better words, there are people that are smarter at this than you. Okay. So there are analysts that cover different stocks all the different times, and they'll come out and give a buy rating, means potentially buy, a hold rating, meaning if you hold the stock now, just hold what you got, and then sell ratings, which is sell. And then they have other ratings like overrate, overperform, and so on. But those different ratings, once again, these people are potentially smarter than me. So, I have no bones in saying that. On a daily basis, all they do is evaluate that stock or evaluate that company. So that's another great way to understand when you should sell. The other part of it is just being disciplined about it. If you come into purchasing any type of investment, if it's real estate, stocks, or whatever it may be, if your threshold is to make a 25% return and you've hit that, do you want to say at that time, okay, maybe it's now time for me to sell? So it comes down also to your own individual discipline when it comes to selling. And then moving on with discipline, being able to take the emotion out of your investing, that's the last thing you want to do. So once again, I mentioned before, you've got your time horizon and your risk profile. That helps to take the emotion out of your investing. But another really great way to do that is dollar cost averaging. So write that down, please, dollar cost averaging. And make sure you do your own research. I'm really very big on doing your own research, okay? Dollar cost averaging, really all that is just you're putting the same amount of money in at the same amount of time every year, or excuse me, every month, when you're purchasing a stock or a mutual fund or ETF, whatever it may be. That is going to allow you to take the emotion out of when should I buy. Okay. You wholeheartedly feel it's going to do well for you and you want to continue to buy it, but you don't know when you should buy. And everyone has this thing called Fomo, which is fear of missing out. So you jump in and say, oh, it doesn't really get you there. You want to have a disciplined approach where dollar cost averaging allows you to take advantage of the dips, the ups, the downs. You're still getting into the stock or into the investment over time, but then your overall cost is going to be lower potentially as the price continues to change each time that you buy it. So some months you're buying it at a higher price slightly, some months you're buying it at a lower price. But at the end of the year, when you look at your actual rate of return based on the fact that you dollar cost averaged into the stock, it's typically and I would say disciplined way of actually investing. So is to remove the investing. So when you get your first job, a couple things you should definitely do: find out about all the benefits that they offer, but then also into whatever the retirement plan that they have. So if you're on the education side, it's a 403B or whatever it may be. If you're on a corporate America, it's typically going to be a 401k. And make sure you are maximizing that, because it's going to come directly out of your paycheck. Typically, they're going to match up to a certain amount. And if they're matching, that's free money. That's free money. So you want to take advantage of that free money. So you got a lot going for yourself. There's a lot coming there. But number one, start with the education. Make sure you know. But then as you're thinking about your education within investing, focus on the ways that you'll be able to remove the emotion of investing, because everyone goes through situations when they go, man, I wish I bought more of that, or man, I should have sold that. And we all sit here now and say, man, I wish I bet the farm on Google. I wish I bet the farm on Tesla, and things like that. So just get the discipline, remove the emotions.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I can tell, Mr. Richards, you and I are thinking about retirement the same way these days. It sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
So, this is great. I think I saw Vanessa was able to join us again. There you are.
Do you see me? And I will say it probably will collapse again. I think my system wants to do all of these updates. I am on the cell phone, but Jane, if I disappear again and if you could take over the presentation, I think we're almost there. I think we're almost there.
That's great. Yeah, and the next lesson has some really good tips. So let's go into that really quick, and then for all the students on the line, be thinking of any questions that you have that put in the chat or ask, and we'll get into those in just a couple minutes.
Having money and building wealth are really two different things. Having an income is great. It pays the bills. But that's money that goes into your pocket and right back out. Wealth is things like savings, property, and investments. It's resources you can use to create and take advantage of opportunities in life.
I agree. And that's why wealth building usually doesn't happen overnight, or in a year, or even in 3 years. It's a series of steps that you take over time. The steps are simple to explain, but a lot harder to do. You'll have to discipline yourself to make wealth building a lifelong pattern. If you do, you'll keep getting better at it as time goes on.
All right, so then we have the pyramid here. And so here you'll see the pyramid where we have the foundation, assets. Oh, great. Foundation, the foundation layers is cash flow. Before someone can truly begin building wealth, he or she must consistently generate enough income to handle month-to-month expenses. It's a good idea to have enough savings aside to cover at least 2 months. We'll go to the next one. And that's going to be for financial emergencies. Assets. Once the cash flow foundation is in place, you can begin to invest in assets. Investments such as real estate or stocks. To build wealth, the value of what you own assets needs to be more than the amount that you owe to others. Liabilities. Investing in assets that appreciate, go up in value over time can allow you to retire for a comfortable lifestyle at some point in the future. And I just want to stop there with this one with assets. Sometimes people think their car is an asset, whereas your car actually goes down in value each year. So that's why it says like homes or actually having stock or bonds, that's actually true assets that will grow, that can grow in value. And the third foundational piece we have is estate. Moving up the pyramid, the next layer is your estate, the wealth you'll pass on to your family. If you're a business owner, this could include your business. And at the very top, we have share. At the pinnacle of the pyramid, you are the legacy goals of your philanthropic goals, the many positive ways you may want to share your wealth by giving back to your community. So first is foundation, having cash, then it's having the actual assets. Then we had our estate, which having money to give to your children and family, and then also being able to share with the community. And then we'll scroll down and I think we'll touch on some of this. So ownership, so home ownership, here we have the benefits and realities. Okay, I know most of us probably want to own our own home. Why? The benefits is it's a place of your own. It's an investment into your future because most of the time it increases in value. And then you can manage housing payments because a lot of times when you own your home, you know how much you're going to be paying a month. Whereas sometimes when you're renting, your rental payments can go up. And we're seeing this in a lot of different states. Tax benefits. So the government actually gives you tax breaks for owning your home. And then also it's a financial stepping stone because sometimes you can borrow money against it, your home, or just use it in different ways. Now, the realities of owning your own home is the ongoing cost. Sometimes people don't think about the mortgages, the taxes. If something breaks, you got to fix it because you're no longer just a renter. It's less easy to move. So for example, when I told you I bought my house for a value of more, where the market went down, well, I couldn't sell it when I moved from Missouri to California. My sister's renting it and that's great, but it would have been great to just sell it and be done with it. The upkeep of your home, utilities, repairs, maintenance, all of those things are going to be your responsibility. Increased value not guaranteed. That was me. I bought it. I thought it's gonna grow in value. It's not always guaranteed. And now the possibility of foreclosure. If you don't pay for your mortgage, you can foreclose, and that's going to be worse on your credit score than simply not paying a rental agreement and taking care of that later. So are you ready to buy a home? Let's see, if you check yes to at least 6 of these items on the worksheet, you're probably in a good situation to consider buying a home first. If you think you're not ready yet, take the necessary steps to strengthen your financial picture. All right, so let's see. So we're looking at, so to consider your current picture, you got to look at credit history and credit score, debt to income ratio, and ability to pay the monthly costs. So we would say yes or no. I have steady, reliable source of income coming in. I'm sure that's a yes. I've been employed on a steady basis for at least 2 years. Yes. I'm kind of making some assumptions for us. I pay my regular monthly bills such as rent, utilities. Yes. I make payments on my debt, credit cards, loans. Yes. These are all like, you'd want to make sure that you're doing all of these things. I can afford how much expenses. I'm sorry. I can afford to continue to pay these debts, plus pay a mortgage. Yes. I researched how much other expenses are likely to be for likely homeowners insurance, taxes, utilities. Yes. I have some money saved for purposes of buying a home. Yes. I understand that buying a home is a major long-term responsibility. I'm committed to fulfilling responsibility. Yes. I have taken care of a house, including responsibilities like home repairs and yard work. Yes. And I recently reviewed my credit report and I know my credit score. Yes. So yeah, it looks like these are all items that you would want to make sure that you have going on. Retirement planning. This is where Jane and Mr. Richards, we're talking about retirement, start early. And let's see.
Do you want to go through the rest of this one, or do you want to just go to your next steps? Because we have kind of touched on retirement.
Yes, we have. Let's go ahead and jump. That sounds good. That's right. We're getting to the 11:30 mark.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and play this.
We hope you're excited about rewarding yourself by saving, investing, and building wealth. Remember, the steps are simple, but it's up to you to make it happen. Here's a recap of how to get started. First, every time you get paid, make it a habit to set some money aside in savings. If you do, you'll be less likely to spend it and your money will grow with interest. Plus, you'll be ready for emergencies and to make major purchases. Second, try to earn the most interest you can on the money you save. Remember that the amount of interest you earn will depend on which account you choose and the amount you keep in the account over time. When you're financially ready, get started with investing. Consider using the guidelines we've given you to help manage your risk. Remember that building wealth is all about investing in things that will hopefully go up in value over time. Whether it's real estate or stocks, try to buy low and sell high. That's how you make a profit. Finally, consider creating your own financial plan. Looking at the big picture of your financial situation can help you get clear about your goals and how you're going to reach them, including retiring someday.
All right, so strategies for success. Make savings an automatic habit. Earn the most interest you can. Manage your investing risk. Buy low and sell high. Buy assets that you think will appreciate. Look at your whole financial picture. Set goals and keep working towards them. So test yourself. Let's see.
All right. Do we want to, Miss Rhonda, are we okay to go a couple minutes longer, or how do you want to handle the?
No, we're fine. Keep going.
Okay, we're good. Okay, so do you want me, Finessa, to read this?
Yeah, go ahead.
And then, okay, so we're going to need your help, and you guys put the answer in the chat or take yourself off mute. The amount of interest you earn on money in your savings account will depend a lot on which 3 factors. So choice number 1, the wind chill factor, the alignment of the stars and planets, and whether Mercury is in retrograde. Or will it depend on choice number 2, the interest rate, how often you make deposits, and how the financial institution invests your money. Choice number 3 is the interest rate, how long you keep the money in your account, and how the financial institution pays the interest. Or choice number 4, the prime rate, your credit rating, and how you made the deposits, cash, check, or direct deposits. So put in the chat either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Do we have anything in the chat yet?
Not yet.
Oh, or you can take yourself off mute.
Okay, let's give it the old college try. Let's give it a guess if we don't know. But I think you're very, very smart, and I think you know the answer to this.
I didn't get through this question, but I don't think it's gonna be the wind chill factor. I think I'm gonna go with, how about let's go with 3. Does that work?
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's see.
Excellent.
Yay.
Yay. Remember to shop for a savings account with the highest annual percentage yield you can find. Okay, question number 2. The collection of investments you own is called your collection of investments. Is it your portfolio? Is it a dividend? Is it your profit margin? Or is it your liabilities?
You should be able to get this one because we mentioned it several
Yes.
times. I mean, several people mentioned it. Mr. Richards, Mr. Hines, Ms. Jane, you should be able to answer this. Okay, I want to know. So, somebody tell me the answer to this. Take off your mute and tell me the answer. Whoever answers this, get a $25 gift card.
Just guess for 25.
I'm like, can I do this too?
Okay, from Russell Whitmore, portfolio. Let's see if that's the answer. That is the answer.
Good job, Russell.
Mr. Russell, you received the $25. I'll have it for you soon.
Okay, question 3. Many studies indicate that if you want your retirement savings to last, you should withdraw no more of your savings each year than, and I don't think we got into this detail, but we'll do the college try guess. So if we want our retirement savings to last, withdraw no more of your savings each year than 1 to 2%, 4 to 6%, 8 to 10%, or 10% of your age. Wow.
Okay, whoever gets this one gets a $25 gift card also. So who has the correct answer? Step right up. Or who has a good educated guess? Step right up. Alvin?
4 to 6, maybe.
Let's try it.
Try it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll give it a try. We'll give it a try.
Let's go.
That's correct. You win the money. Yay!
I was worried because I was doing this, thinking of the 4 to 6. Then I realized that the answer is either 1, 2, 3, or 4. I was like, oh, shoot, I'm messing somebody up.
Oh, Alvin, I would have gotten that wrong and I wouldn't have gotten the money because I would have said 1 to 2%. I would have said, but you got it right. So congratulations. You will receive a $25 gift card. Next question.
Okay, question. One more question. To build wealth, try to focus on buying assets you think are likely to do what over time? So to build wealth, try to focus on buying assets you think are likely to depreciate, which means go down over time. Try to focus on buying assets you think are likely to negotiate over time. Try to focus on buying assets you think are likely to appreciate over time, and appreciate leads to increase. Try to focus on buying assets you think are likely to initiate over time. So I thought I heard someone with an answer already.
You did. I mean, so someone put in the chat that the answer is, okay, appreciate. Appreciate.
Correct.
All right. Okay, Russell, you win another $25 gift card. Oh my God, you're going to be rich after this class. I need to borrow some money from you.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say thank you all because so today we went over saving, making sure that you're putting automatic savings the best way to do it. If you automate it, that's the best way. We talked about investing your money, the different risks, and then also making sure that you're diversified. And then we also talked about just building your wealth, making sure that your money is growing so you retire and that you're not taking too much money out when you do retire. when you do retire, so that way you have money to give to your future generations. Let's see, there's no more down below, is there?
No,
Okay.
that's the last part.
Mhm.
I would just say, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to thank you all for having me, and I'm gonna give it over to Jane.
Thanks, Vanessa. We went through a lot of information today, so you may have questions moving forward. Vanessa will be back on, I know at least one more time probably, with the students, and maybe even when they do the tour to the class. So this is what her whole job is. So if you have other questions, you can definitely ask Vanessa. You can send an email or contact Miss Rhonda. She can get in touch with me, but this is a lot of information. So I would encourage you to go through it again, maybe get your parents, your siblings, go through it as well. And if you have questions, just let us know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for showing up this Saturday and spending time with us. We really appreciate all of your interaction. And Miss Rhonda, I'm going to turn it to you and the rest of the leadership team for any other closing comments.
Okay, Mr. Richards, any closing comments?
Number one, just, thank everyone for their interaction today. It's been great. I think we had a lot of fun today, and that's what it's all really about, learning and having fun at the same time. And we all like talking about money because we want to make money. So definitely, I hope you guys got a lot out of this today. Remember, find ways to stay true to your risk tolerance, your time horizon. And number three, find ways to remove the emotion in any type of investing that you're doing. Just do that and you'll be ahead of the game.
Mr. Hines?
Yeah, I'm going to stress something that outside of all of the investments at this time in your life, the rule of 72 is the most important investment that you and your family can make, because it's compounded interest. And if you would spend some time with your family looking over the rule of 72, I just bought a rule of 72 for my grandson. You'd find that at your age and between now and age 30, based upon what you put into that savings, that compounded interest cannot be beat outside of everything else. You'd find that funds for college, saving for anything that you're looking for, you'd find that the rule of 72, you must look into that. You must have your family. I heard that one of the kids said today that he gave his money to his mother. If she put that money into a rule of 72, you would find that there's your financial advisors can give you a chart about that compounded interest. It can't be beat at your rightful age. And have a wonderful evening.
Mr. Whitmore?
I just want to say thank you. And as a lover of technology, I would say to the kids, set an amount that you're comfortable with and make it automatic. It may hurt at the very beginning, but eventually you'll just forget about that money and learn to live on what's remaining. So set it, make it automatic and forget about it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you to our partners, Ms. Pavick and Ms. Tonga. Thank you so much for teaching class today, our partners at Wells Fargo Bank. My name is Rhonda Nolan. You've been watching the 100 Black Men of Las Vegas Youth Economic Empowerment Club, class number 4. We look forward to seeing you next Saturday. Have a great day. Bye-bye.